Welcome back, everybody. I thought we were going to be going to a quick commercial break, but I think that we had some technical difficulties with the stream, so you guys don't have to watch commercials right now. Instead, you guys should get ready because I think we are about to see the ace player from Team Impulse coming out in game number 3. It looks like Ender's going to be coming out pretty soon, and you had the call, Jay tomorrow, and it looks like this is going to happen the way that you planned it out today.
That is correct, and it looks like he actually is choosing Antigua from what I've seen so far. No confirmation on that as of yet, but let's think about this. We have a Terran playing. Oh, it is Antigua, so I just got confirmation from Marine right now. So it looks like we're going to have a TVZ on Antigua Shipyard. I mean, what are your thoughts about this, Vindicare?
I mean, it's expected at this point. You're coming out as the Terran player. You get the map choice. Antigua Shipyard. That's the map choice. It's a pretty normal decision to make at this point. Antigua Shipyard does have, especially the well, maybe not so much anymore with the absence of the gold base, but Antigua Shipyard does have that reputation as being Terran favorite in the Terran versus Zerg matchup just because of how easy it is as a Terran player to secure that third base and how hard it is as the Zerg player to secure that fourth base. That dynamic is so important in the Terran versus Zerg matchup that it really makes Antigua Shipyard a map that a lot of Terrans like to play against Zerg on.
That's an excellent point to make on it. I mean, are you somewhat familiar with Ender's play? I'm just curious if you can relate it to any top tier player that people may have heard.
I've only seen him play a few times. The one thing about Ender that I have noticed above all else is that the dude has spectacular mechanics. His macro is good. This is not one of those Terrans that you can be like, oh, I killed one army of his, I can breathe easy. No, there is another army coming. Ender does not stop. He keeps throwing he will keep throwing troops at you, and you will lose if your control is not better than his. His mechanics are just overall solid. He's a solid Terran player in every sense of the word. I think I've seen him prefer bio play a little bit more so than heavy mech, but the metagame has shifted a little bit in the last few months, so I don't know if he's adapted that or not. So we'll have to see what kind of playstyle he prefers on Antigua Shipyard. Antigua Shipyard is one of those maps that like you can play almost any single Terran style on it, and it will work out pretty well for you. But the countdown has started, Jay Morrow. We are getting into game number 3. Are you excited?
I am pumped, man. I'm actually curious. I was just going to say, I mean, Antigua Shipyard, like you were saying, I mean, we could see mech, we could see bio. If we were playing on Cloud Kingdom, I would expect a higher possibility of seeing mech. But being a map like this, from my prediction, I think we're going to see Ender play very, very greedy and go bio. Those are my predictions. Several command centers early.
I'll get to my predictions in just a moment, but right now we have our blue Terran player. He is spawning down here in the bottom right corner for Team Impulse, being sent out a little bit earlier than I think his team wanted, but he has to stop the bleeding here. He is Impulse Ender.
And spawning up here in the top left corner, we do have from Area 51 Gaming up 2 games right now, killing off 2 of Impulse's players. We do have Masan as our red Zerg, so like you were going to say, I mean, what are your predictions here, man?
I think Masan's going to do something gimmicky. I think he thinks that Ender's going to be greedy and he's going to do something crazy in order to counter that. That's what I think is going to happen here. But it might not be. I mean, Masan has played two pretty standard games of ZVZ and ZVP. That is good evidence that he doesn't try gimmicky builds very often, and from the looks of things, he hasn't, like, things are pretty normal right now. He hasn't dropped like an early pool or anything else like that, but my gut is telling me that we're going to be seeing something crazy out of Masan this game.
Possibly like a 2-base Baneling bust with roaches or something. That's actually a pretty good prediction. I mean, the thing is, though, I mean, he's played the way he wants to so far, and he's had no issues with it. So, I mean, maybe we'll see him do something like that. Maybe he doesn't want to let this game drag out because, I mean, we all know, I mean, Ender, just based on a numbers game, is just not a much higher, but he's at a higher caliber. Take that back.
The pool's at 13, Jay Morrow. I don't know how I was able to sense that, but all right. So Masan is going for a 13 pool. This, and especially the way that Ender is opening right now, this is going to be a CC first with no wall.
Oh,
this is bad for Ender. He's going to have to really rely on his SCP control if he wants to try and stop the sorts of damage that he can do. But you are totally right, Jay Morrow. He is playing super greedy. He doesn't even have a wall. This is bad for Ender. This is going to take an extraordinary amount of micro in order for him to be able to control without losing too much.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen top tier level players do it in the past. It's going to be really rough to hold this. His barracks is just starting as the pool's finishing. Son is going to run up here and be so excited and so relieved to see this. Actually, a hatchery going down at the same time, so no Zerglings in production yet. Actually, weirdly enough, he's not building any Zerglings. This might be a quick third hatchery or maybe a mass queen build just based on the fact that he hasn't obtained any gas yet, and he hasn't started a third hatchery yet, but
You know, this
I'm a
could
little
also
confused right now.
You know what this could also be, and now that I'm dissecting this a little bit as I'm seeing it unfold in front of me, and I'm actually disappointed that we're not going to be seeing Masan go for something crazy. But I think that I was totally wrong when I thought that Masan thought his opponent was going to be greedy. I think Masan might have been expecting some cheese and went for that early pull. It's kind of a defensive move, thinking that his opponent might be going for some kind of like proxy 2-racks shenanigans or something like that. I mean, and the thing is too, that's an understandable position to come from, because you're up 2 games to nothing. Who's more likely to cheese, you or your opponent, when you really think about it that way? But so the way that this is playing out right now, Masan's decision to not go for some really early Zergling aggression on his opponent is actually going to come back to bite him a little bit, because Ender is finishing up 2 orbitals. He'll be able to start dropping down 2 mules and get double SCV production before his opponent is even up to 40 supplies. So this is going to be a good thing for Ender.
And it looks like Ender is going to open through Reactor Hellions. He's actually saving up gas to get the factory here in just a moment. On the flip side, Masan right now building 2 queens at a time. It looks like he's going to go for a very, very heavy queen style, get a third hatchery here shortly. And he's going to have so many queens out that he really cannot be harassed whatsoever. The SCV does end up dying, gets a good amount of scouting information, and actually a third command center coming down. So here we go. This is what I'm talking about on this map. This is very Marine King style-esque. Marine King sits on 1 gas, gets a third orbital, actually does not lift it or land it at the third location for quite some time. What he's going to do here, he will go Reactor Hellions. Those will prevent his opponent from getting map control. Those will allow him to deny creep from for a little while at least, while Ender techs up, gets stim, gets combat shield, and transitions into the middle game. Or the mid game, rather.
And this really plays to Andrew's strength that I was talking about, J. Morrow. His mechanics are really, really good. If Masan doesn't punish or doesn't recognize what his opponent is going for soon, he is going to start getting flooded with Terran units. It's going to be kind of like a kind of a reverse where the Terran's swarming the Zerg a little bit when you think about it. But Masan is actually droning up really, really hard on just 2 bases right now. He's going to be up to almost 50 drones before he even starts his third hatchery. And now we have a Roach Warren coming down. Again, at this point, based off of what Masan's been doing before, this might be a defensive move, or it could be alluding to a little bit more of what you initially predicted, some very heavy Roach Baneling aggression off of 2 bases, but nope, there's the third hatchery. So Masan is just playing really, really defensively right now.
Yes, and he's actually getting a layer at the same time. So what he's doing is actually something that Liquid Tasia does a lot. You get a Roach Warren around the 6-minute mark, and what he'll do, hopefully, I'm going to call it, but I'll probably be wrong, is he'll build around 6 to 8 roaches, and these are completely defensive units. He'll use them to deny the Hellions from doing anything. He'll use these primarily to avoid getting harassed. Any sort of awkward timing, it actually helps quite a bit, and then he'll never use the Roach Warren again until like the very, very last stages of the game if it really comes down to it. But we probably won't see him end up using that Roach Warren again. But on the flip side, I mean, Ender's in a really good spot now, man. He's already got siege mode halfway done. He's getting a tech lab on his barracks. He's going to start researching very quickly, and as well, he's going to start getting these upgrades for his bio units. So I really like this build from Ender, and as well, San's doing something a little bit different. He's tweaking the standard, I would say, but I'm actually kind of liking it so far.
This is so Marine King style right now, Jamar. You totally called it. Like, he only has 1 barracks and 1 factory, and we are now at 8 minutes and 23 seconds in the game. 1 barracks, 1 factory. You are so vulnerable to all sorts of different things, and he's only now starting his production. He has double engineering bay already started, so 1-1 and stim are being produced at the exact same time. 3 orbitals already out on the field. If Masan had wanted to be aggressive earlier, Ender couldn't be doing this right now. But now his production is just kicking into overdrive, and he will be able to start putting some heavy pressure on his opponent very, very soon.
Yeah, and those siege tanks on the high ground are going to completely deny any sort of harass. And San is actually not even going to try and scout the third. That's kind of interesting. I expect him to at least poke up the ramp to see. But it looks like the Overlord's given him enough vision to really let him know what's going on. In response, we do have an infestation pit on the way, 1-1, and another hatchery. I was waiting for the macro hatchery. Very interesting placement. This is the second time we've seen Masan do this, where he actually places his macro hatchery in a different spot. I mean, if he's actually getting sieged at his third, those larvae are in danger, so I'm not sure exactly why he tends to do this. Maybe he just feels comfortable with it. There's actually a drone heading to the middle. We might see a quick fourth from him here.
That wouldn't be a bad idea considering what his opponent is doing right now. I mean, even though Ender's production is really kicking up just right now, he can't exactly attack for at least another 2 minutes. He only has out on the field right now 10 Marines, a Marauder, 3 Siege tanks. That's not really enough to push out across a very creeped up map already. So a decision to make a 4th base right now, I'm totally supportive of it. One
Yeah.
thing I was going to point out a second ago, just because we had some free time, but Masan moved it, was the position of his Overlord before was in a spot, so he wasn't necessarily looking for the command center so much as he was looking for SCVs harvesting from the mineral patch. Just a nice little trick you can do with your Overlords to kind of keep him out of danger.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And actually, now this creep here takes about, I think somebody made a video, is like 45 seconds to recede. So now that Masan has actually seen this, he's in a very comfortable position. He's got a 4th base on the way. He does have a macro hatch as well. He's going to tear down these rocks. And what I like what he did not take the center expansion. You always want to expand away from your opponent. So this is a very, very good spot from Masan. I really like this. 1-1's about to finish. I believe he'll follow it up with 2-2. He's getting infestors. He does have pathogen glance. And he's in a very good spot. So he responded appropriately. He saw that his opponent was going to play greedy, predicted a little bit better. Now, in response, Ender needs to make a call here. He needs to either decide, I'm going to go for a 2-2 timing, I'm going to tech up, or I'm going to drop a bunch more command centers and sit comfortably on 3 base for a while. So we'll have to see what does he decide to do here.
I think he might be hitting a timing with 2-2. Those two, like his production is kicking up at just the right amount of time with his upgrades. I think he's really timing out his very first push with those infantry upgrades. One thing I wanted to point out real quick, Jay Morrow, you were commenting about his decision to expand away from his opponent on this map. And in general, I think that's a great philosophy for Zerg players, but Antigua Shipyards is one of those maps where it really makes it difficult for you to do that because look at the center of the map. You take that watchtower, you're cutting off reinforcements to that 3rd base. You can't reinforce the 3rd base and the 4th base at the same time. If you have siege tanks up on the high ground, you're essentially cutting the Zerg's base in half. You're cutting the Zerg's expansions in half. You can hit the 4th base with drops or infantry units while keeping the majority of your army in the middle, and it really makes it difficult to hold these top right expansions as a Zerg player if the Terran manages to accrue a very powerful position in the middle. So keeping Ender out of the middle is absolutely crucial for Masan right now, and I'm just actually taking a look at the supply right now. The supply is 168 to 157, so Ender's army is enormous. This is what I was talking about before, about this guy's mechanics. We have a drop that is now moving up to the top right position, and Ender's army is just now moving out now. That is a lot of siege tanks.
Well, actually, there's a patrolling Zergling that is going to scout that. And to note, Masan actually used an Overseer to delay the +2 attack from Ender. So it's a very nice maneuver, something very small that will come into play here. To be honest, I feel like Masan is in a wonderful position. He is slowly restricting Ender's movement. He has this creep spread so perfectly done. Ender has done nothing to restrict it. Here we go. Looks like Masan is moving forward. All the Marines are clumped up here. Looks like he does get a beautiful fungal, and then Banelings are coming in. But he did not have Baneling speed for this engagement, so that's definitely going to hurt him here. I think Ender may be able to do this, actually stemming forward with a small group of Marines, picks off one of the infestors very quickly, but not maneuvering the remainder of them, so they actually do fall very quickly, 120 to 134 right here, and Ender not sieging up his last siege tank here, could actually lose this engagement, is getting pushed back, and honestly, in my opinion, Masan is ahead right now. He can trade like this, he has the extra base right now, but the drop up in the top right is actually going to focus down this new hatchery. It does force a cancel, and he is able to kill off the drone as well.
That Spore Crawler is going to prevent that drop from really doing anything to the 4th base location. So good defensive position by Masan up at his 4th base location. And that battle was pretty convincing for Masan just because he has that 4th base location. He can afford to make those sorts of trades with Ender, and Ender lost a lot of siege tanks in that engagement. You can afford to lose. You can afford to lose Marines. You can afford to lose Marauders in this matchup. Siege tanks are a lot trickier to replace. But Ender's not panicking. He is dropping down that 4th command center. He is interested in dragging this out a little bit further. And even though that first push didn't exactly go the way that he had wanted it to, he's not the kind of player that's really going to panic in this sort of situation.
Yep, and Masan's actually catching a group of Marines out of position here. The siege tanks are in position, but I really like your point talking about the siege tank count. I mean, it's like losing your Colossi if that makes a little bit more sense to people. Having your siege tank account reset like that hurts drastically. And at the same time, Masan is in such a good spot right now. Ender's going to try and play catch-up here, so it's going to be very challenging. He needs to take this 4th position. Looks like here comes Masan again, going to engage on this. These Zerglings do have very nice upgrades of 2-2. The Marines are currently sitting at 2-2 as well. Nice fungal growth actually catches a couple of the Marines off guard. The last couple of Siege Tanks are getting target fire, but actually I think Masan may have overextended here because Ender is now pushing forward. He has a good number of Marauders to this composition, and now he's actually going to be able to secure this 4th, so very nicely done on Ender's part.
I was just about to say that I thought Ender might have overextended there a little bit, but I mean that's the power of really fast upgraded bio against straight Zerglings. These units are just so cost effective. The siege tanks went down almost immediately, but it didn't even matter because the upgrades for Ender's army is just so good at this point. He's going to be having 3-3 around the same time that his opponent, or even before his opponent gets 3-3, which is really, really good if you are a Terran bio player. So Ender's army is just so cost effective right now. He's up to 172 supply to 162 supply of Masan, and Masan is going for Ultralist tech, and Ender already has out Marauders. So this the unit composition for Ender is just really, really good right now. The only thing that he has to be careful of is that he doesn't get his entire army in one bad fungal growth, but he's already splitting it up. There is a fungal growth that is going down on the Marauders in the middle of the map. That is a very Marauder-heavy army. He is focusing down all of the Banelings. So once again, Ender is just being so cost-effective with the units that he has. This push will allow him to secure this 4th base location as soon as that creep proceeds. We have another drop going up at the 4th base location. There is a spine crawler there. There are some Zerglings and Corruptors on the way to clean that up. And the Marines are being taken down, but we have a push now at the center of the map. Ender is just moving all sorts of places all at once. His multitasking is so good, but he is on creep. His units are a little spread out, but there are not enough units for Masan for him to directly engage this.
Yeah, and the only thing he's making right now is Ultralist. He does not have the Infestor count that he's going to need. He only has 1 Infestor right now. Corruptors are, of course, on the field. But I think Masan made a mistake of building all these Ultralists. He actually has 6 in production, Chitinous Plating, and plus 3 armor is going to finish. But he's going to lose his 4th base. He's going to lose his 5th base, even into possibly here. Masan is not building enough Banelings. I feel like he actually, of course there are Marauders on the field, but he's engaged twice now, which is primarily Zerglings. He doesn't actually have the Broodlord tech right now. He does have a Greater Spire ready, but he just lost a ton of Corruptors, so I feel like he's in kind of an awkward spot. Here comes the first Ultralist on the field, but these Marauders, I mean, look at this. They're just going to decimate this Ultralist all by himself. He's already going to dip here, and now a bunch of Overlords are actually grouped up out in the open. They're going to get picked off the 4th base as well, and oh man, this is really bad for Masan right now.
I mean, this is playing out exactly the way that I think that Ender wanted it to play out. He went for those early upgrades. Why did he go for those early upgrades? Because he wants to play for the late game. This is exactly the kind of position that Ender wants to be in. He's like, oh, you're going for Ultralisk Infestor? That's totally fine. I have 3-3 Marauder Marine already out on the map, and my control is just better than yours. That's what I'm counting on right now. And he's proving it. Ender is getting his way in this matchup. His opponent has lost his 4th base. That 4th command center is already being turned into an orbital, so he's not even worried enough to make that a planetary. He's going to be able to move up and attack this 5th base location in just a moment. And where does Masan go from here? He's morphing in a bunch of Banelings in the middle of the map. He doesn't. Does he have Baneling speed at this point? I think he does. But he doesn't have. He is completely transitioning away from Hive units. He doesn't have enough money to support them.
Masan really needs to start going for Broodlords here. I mean, I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but those are definitely going to help him win this game. Right now, Ender has 0 Vikings on the field, and as well, when you go for this heavy Link style towards the later stages of the game, he's doing somewhat of a TLO style, going for a quick Hive here, but the difference is, he's not doing Zergling run buys. You have to get into the mineral patches, he has to get into the 3rd base, he has to get into the natural, into the main, and cause a little bit of distortion in Ender's base, and prevent him from getting this massive Bioforce, which he's starting to come back from. He's starting to build up a little bit better of an army. He has 6 Infestors in production, no Corruptors in sight. But right now, Masan is currently on 3 base again. So there are 3 base on 3 base. Enders had to pull his command center back from the center. And now Masan's army is looking a little bit better, but he still has Ultralist versus Marauder and actually catching a ton of units out of center. If the fungal growth goes down on these medevacs, this is actually very, very important. But no, Masan does miss it. And looks like the hatchery actually does go down as well. Oof.
I just spotted this like big pack of drones that are just hiding up here at the top right base location right here. They're just like, oh, please don't find us. We so desperately want to go back and start harvesting from one of these hatcheries. I was actually just going to point out, J-Mar, did you notice that over here in Ender's 3rd base, he already has 3 starports prepped and ready to go in case he needs to make that transition into Ravens and Vikings for the Corruptors? I mean, Ender is just all over this game, but Masan does manage to catch a bunch of SCVs transferring over to the 4th base, and that is a big loss for Ender's economy.
15 SCV kills.
Oh, that might be enough for Masan to potentially come back in this game. That was a lot of SCVs that just went down right there. But at this point, now that I think about it, it might not be that big of a deal because Ender is still fully saturated at that 4th base location. I mean, Masan just kind of cleaned up a bunch of supply for him to actually just continue making units at this point.
That's actually a very good point. I never actually thought about that. A bunch of infested eggs are going down here. Some Marines pushing forward. I do not like this engagement from Masan whatsoever. Below
I don't either.
From the siege tanks are doing so much damage. The units are still in the back. The Banelings connect on top of the siege tanks. And now that the siege tanks are down, the Ultras are pushing forward. But very nice splits from Ender, starting to target fire down the Ultras. And oh no, Masan's army is starting to melt here. He has no more Zerglings stuff. The last couple of the Ultras are starting to dip down. I think Ender's going to push forward here. Still, actually, he has not overstimmed. He's in the LHP. Fungal growths could be used here. And actually, units are pushing forward. And Masan does a very, very nice fungal here. Ultras pushing forward. A couple extra fungals here could actually help these Ultras keep these units in place. But it looks like, oh man, look at the supplies.
Supply is in Ender's favor, but all of those medevacs are out of energy, J. Morrow. There are no more energy left in those medevacs to actually take down all these Ultralists, so Ender is being forced to pick up. He's at 114 supply to 131 of Masan right now, but again, Masan is just now getting that 4th base location back up and running, and Zerg doesn't have mules. Look at all of these drones harvesting from this single mineral field. That's just a completely oversaturated. And meanwhile, for Ender, his 4th base has mules at it. Like, you can drop a ton of mules at that base and just get all that mineral income right away because of the way that those things operate. So the position right now for Ender, just in terms of the economy, is still better, even though his opponent does have more minerals in the bank. But look at the gas Ender has in the bank. He can make a transition. He can make a heavy transition to Ravens right now and totally be able to afford it with 3K gas in the bank.
Masan really needs to start doing more run-bys, man. This is killing me. He got into this 3rd base right now and was able to stop this gas from being mined, to stop these minerals. This is, I mean, he's only mining off of 2 bases, really 1.5, because of how low his SCV count, only 40 to the 90 drones of Masan right now. So the army supply for Ender is 100, just a little under 100, I believe. Let me take a look here. It is 57 to 98. Yeah, so, but here's the thing. Masan actually can engage here. He needs a couple extra infestors. It looks like a drop does go down. Is it going to do any damage, though? I mean, he has such a high drone count that losing a couple of them really doesn't hurt him too much. Is able to actually finish off that last medevac, so very nicely done. Medevac count currently at 9. No Vikings in sight. No Corruptors and 16 additional Zerglings with 4 infestors to follow it up. I really can't tell who's going to take this, man. It looks like Ender's securing a good position here, but honestly, I cannot tell.
And this is going to come down to one last crucial engagement either way. Neither side can really afford to continue trading at this point. This army that they've built for themselves is really the last one they can afford. However, Ender did manage to land his main orbital over here to the left position. He will be able to saturate that with mules and with some additional SCVs, so he is still mining minerals comfortably from 2 locations. Meanwhile, Masan does not have that 5th base up and running just yet. It is still a hatchery. He's a long distance mining from there. And now Ender is actually taking the center position of the map with some siege tanks. Again, like I said before, this is such a difficult position for Masan to actually break, but he's trying to go around it, try and get this 5th base location, but Ender's just going to be able to lift that up. He won't actually lose the command center. He will lose some mules and some SCVs, but I mean, this is something Ender can afford to do right now that Masan can't. Masan can't afford to actually kill these orbitals, and here comes the other engagement, but that is such a good concave of bio units. The Ultra is taking so much damage, but good Baneling hits actually do go off on a lot of bio units, so the supply for both players is actually really, really even right now, but the Fungal Growths do land, and those Ultras are doing a lot of damage, but here come additional reinforcements from Ender. Ender is going to be able to clean up all of the Ultras, and now the Infestors are naked without any support units, and there go all of the Infestors, 126 supply to 122, and Masan has been reduced now to 150 minerals of bank. He can only make some Zerglings. He has 2 Broodlords in production, and those Broodlords have got a heavy load to lift right now.
Yep, and Ender is moving out, which is exactly what he needs to do, because Masan is actually in a decent spot right now. He is by no means out of this game. Where are the Broodlords, though? That's my first question. They're morphing in a perfect position. So, I mean, these 2 Broodlords, like you said, they have a huge, huge job ahead of them, but I think they can actually manage to do it. And actually, here come the Broodlords. Already a nice fungal, catching a couple units off guard here, and the Ultras are going to come and help clean this up. And honestly, Masan's in a pretty decent spot. If he can get these Broodlords count, if he can get this Broodlord count up and get the extra gas geysers that he needs, I think he'll be in a pretty good spot. It looks like he's going to try and engage over the ravine here. A bunch of Zerglings are actually in a move command, and the Ultras are pushing forward. The Broodlords are still not being targeted, and I don't think it's going to be enough, though. It looks like Ender is going to be able to stem underneath. Both Broodlords do fall. The last Ultras is about to die here, and where are the defenses of Son? I mean, right now he has 80 drones of 112 supply. I think Ender might be able to push through and bust down the rest of these drones here.
There was only one infestor there, J. Morrow. There was only one infestor. There wasn't enough energy there to actually stop all of those bioforces, and with one infestor and just like two ultralisks, it wasn't enough to hold back these bioforces. He needs more infestors, and he needs more splash if he wants to be able to deal the sorts of damage that he needs to deal to this army. And I don't think he can stop this anymore. I think Ender's army is just too strong. All Masson can make at this point are Zerglings and Ultralisks. He's got two infestors out on the field. He needs to get a big number of units if he wants to be able to stop all this. And meanwhile, Ender is just continuing to micro, and there's the GG. Well played. Nice micro from Masson, recognizing the skill of his opponent, and that is going to get Impulse a little bit out of the hole. He's bringing the series up to 2-1, and just a well-played game from Ender. What did I say about Ender's mechanics, J. Morrow? He is just such a good he's just a mechanically sound Terran player, and that was a great game. I'm pleased with the way that the series has gone so far.
I'm very impressed with Ender. I mean, that was very nicely done. His micro, is specifically, I like Masson's point of saying nice micro, because every time that Masson tried to engage with his fungal growth Baneling composition, Ender was already set up to split his units apart. He had his siege tanks in the front line, had the Marauders in the front. Just very, very properly executed, was able to trade efficiently. So very nicely done. Definitely deserves the win there on Ender's part. So right now, I mean, what does Area 51 do to return against Ender here?
Well, you tell me, J. Morrow. You are pretty familiar with this team. You know how many Grandmasters players, how many top level players that they have available for them. I mean, Ender, as good as he is, I think he's probably the best player that Impulse can really send out at this point. So if they can manage to take him down in the next two games, they will still be in a good spot. But I mean, that was just a brilliantly played game by Ender. And the thing is if you are Area 51, you're watching that and you're saying to yourself, damn, this guy has some really good biocontrol. I know for a fact he's going to be a difficult Terran player to take down in a Protoss versus Terran matchup. So do you try and go for a TBT snipe, or do you try and send out another Zerg, maybe this time on a little bit more of a Zerg favored map? Because, I mean, in a lot of ways, as well as Ender played that, I think Antigua Shipyard had a lot to do with his win also.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
We'll continue this discussion in just a little bit, Jamar. We're going to go to another commercial break, so stick with us, guys, for game number 4 coming up right after this. Welcome back, everybody. We'll be getting into game number 4 of the series between Area 51 and Team Impulse Esports. This is the Indie StarCraft Team League with Vindicare and Jay Morrow. We just got to see a brilliant TVZ from Impulse's editor to take down Masan from Team Area 51. And now we're sitting here having a discussion about who Area 51 could send out to take down Ender.
In my opinion, I think we're going to see a Protoss. They have a couple of really high-level Protoss players. Their number one ranked player right now is goes by the name of Kitty. 1754 points in GM. Actually, very, very good record. 54% win ratio. 34th in North American Grandmasters League as of right now, from what I can see. They actually have a second Protoss player who's fourth on their roster at 79th in Grandmaster, 1621 points with a 52% win ratio. Very, very impressive roster. I honestly think we are going to see a Protoss. They saw Ender's playstyle in a versus Zerg matchup. The only way I think we'll see a versus Zerg matchup is if they pick a specific map that the Zerg player is comfortable playing on. That's my only prediction for that.
Well, I mean, to be honest, Daybreak is already out of the map pool. So they don't have Daybreak anymore. We started on Cloud Kingdom. I'm trying to remember what some of the other maps are available, but Entombed Valley is not. It can really go either way, but a lot of Terrans feel comfortable fighting Zerg on that map.
Sure.
You could be right. It could definitely be another Zerg player, but I think I am leaning myself a little bit more towards seeing a Protoss. And I actually just got to see Kitty play the other day in a separate tournament. A separate Playham tournament, so I did get to see a little bit of his play, although unfortunately I didn't actually get to see him play against a Terran, so I really don't know what his Protoss versus Terran looks like and if it can match up to Ender. But like I said originally, Ender's strength is his mechanics. Mechanics are one of those things where it translates to all matchups. Good mechanics is good in every matchup. So he can hold his own in Terran versus Protoss just on those mechanics and on his bio control, and that's really what Terran versus Protoss is when you think about it. It's mechanics plus control. That's all. There isn't really much in the way of unorthodox builds or creative builds that you can do in the Terran versus Protoss matchup, at least at this stage in the metagame. So I'm comfortable if I'm an Impulse fan, and I am an Impulse fan, but I'm trying to stay as objective as possible. I'm comfortable with a Protoss player. I'm comfortable with a Zerg player. The only thing I'd be a little bit worried about is a TVT snipe.
Yeah, I'll be the Area 51. How about I'll be the fanboy for Area 51 as long as Joker doesn't kick my butt or fire me or something. But my prediction, I think we're going to see a Protoss player, and I think we're going to see Ohana. So the map pool left, we have Daybreak, which is taken out, because of course it was already used. Cloud Kingdom was used. There's Entombed Valley, Shakira's Plateau, which players have been leaning more and more away from it because it was so popular, and it's kind of oversaturated for a while. Ohana is available, like I said. Antigua Shipyard was used, Metropolis, and Whirlwind. So my prediction, Protoss player on Ohana. That's what I'm expecting out of Area 51. I think it's a great decision. As far as Ohana in the matchup, some players argue Terran's a little bit better. As far as the map percentages go, I think it's slightly in favor of Terran, but I'm completely wrong because I just got invited to a game on Shakira's Plateau.
You know, Shakira's Plateau has been an interesting map in the ISTL. It's kind of had a weird history to it. And, you know, we are being blown away right now, J. Morrow, because this is not what I expected at all. You're telling me you're going to see a Zerg player and you're going to see a Zerg player on Shakira's Plateau, of all places. Now, as much as we like to comment on how Antigua Shipyard tends to be a map that Terrans like to play on, Shakira's Plateau is historically a map that Terrans love to play against Zerg. It is the TVZ map if you are really following the history of these two maps. We've seen games like MVP versus Nestea at BlizzCon, MMA versus DRG at the BlizzCup final. So many high-level, high spectacle Terran versus Zergs where the layout of this map has come into such a big factor with it. So the fact that we're seeing it in a Terran versus Zerg of all places for these two teams, I think is a little peculiar, but obviously Area 51 has a game plan. They have their own strategy for how they're going to take down Ender. We'll have to see how it transpires.
Yeah, I'm actually excited to see what I guess are we going to call him Echo or Eco? Do you know which it is? I'm waiting for...
I think it's Echo.
Okay, just making sure. That's a good game, actually. I like Echo. Anyway, so as far as Echo goes, I mean, I'm actually, I haven't seen Shakira's Plateau in a while, so I'm actually very curious to see if the metagame is shifted. I mean, we know what the metagame is for ZVT, but Shakira's Plateau, I mean, come on, we haven't seen it in a while, so I'm a little bit curious to see what Echo has up his sleeve. What is he going to decide? And how is Ender going to respond? This is another map where he can turtle, get up to 3 command centers on 2 base, and then lead into later stages of the game, but we'll have to see what he decides to do.
Well, we'll have to see what he has to do, but first he needs an introduction. He is the blue Terran player spawning in the bottom left position on the map, Shakuras Plateau. He is for Team Impulse, bringing his team to 2-1 in this best of 7. He is Impulse Ender.
That is right, and spawning down in the bottom right corner from Area 51 Gaming, we do have Echo as our red Zerg coming out after Ender took down Masan. So, very interesting little situation we have here, because, I mean, if Ender starts climbing up or starts getting some victories, we could see the tables turn.
It's definitely a possibility, and it's something that happens a lot in the King of the Hill style format. And Ender is once again opening with the supply depot over away from his wall position. It's kind of a peculiar space for it, but on this map it makes a lot of sense because the positioning of that supply depot is going to allow him to spot the Overlord for his opponent. Knowing exactly where his opponent's going to be is a very good thing to know as the Terran player, the Terran versus Zerg matchup. It kind of like gives you it kind of like puts in your head all the sorts of different timings of like when you could be seeing things like early Zerglings, if you're going to be seeing them, things like Mutalisk, especially on this map, knowing that you guys are in close air position. So this is a good thing for Ender being able to spot this Overlord, and it does look like he's going to be opening very similarly to what he did on the last map. He is not dropping that barracks at 150 minerals. He's going to be going up to a command center first again.
Yeah, you know, surprisingly, in the last game, I forgot about this. Masan dropped a spawning pool at 13, didn't do anything with it. I mean, it allowed him to get a queen out quicker. Honestly, I feel like hatch first would have helped him out here, and that's exactly what Echo's going to do. He's not going to go for the 13 hatch, so we're going to see, or excuse me, a 13 pool. We're going to see a hatch, and at the same time, we are going to see the CC first. So how is Ender going to follow this up? Is he going to do the same style I did last game, where he gets one gas, one racks, and starts teching?
I mean,
maybe getting a third command center?
That style is just solid. That style is like it's really standard. You can do a lot with it. The only thing that you really have to be careful about with it is having good scouting information, knowing what your opponent is going to be doing and how to best prepare for it. And Echo is doing something that has been gaining a little bit of popularity, especially in Korea, is the triple hatchery before pull. So he is like, okay, you're going to be greedy, Ender. I'm going to be even greedier. I'm going to go for 3 hatcheries before pull. And the way that Ender opened right now, there is absolutely no way he can punish this for the next few minutes.
Yeah, that's actually a very smart decision on Echo's part to do so. I mean, he saw Ender playing last game. Now the question is Ender going to scout it? That's what's important here because, I mean, he's going to pretty much assume, or not assume, he's going to try and base it off of the previous game. SCV scouts the hatchery, knows that it was hatch first. There's no gas grabbed in the main. This may actually ding a little bit of a bell in Ender's head. They may, okay, you know what? I need to go scout this third location to verify that he does not have a third hatchery. And that's exactly where he's going.
The pull timing is also very indicative of the fact that that pull already would have been up. There already would have been a queen on the way if that hatchery wasn't already on the way. And there he goes. Ender is throwing down that bunker. I don't actually know if he's really going to be able to do all that much with it. His opponent's spawn pool did just finish. That drone is going to be harassing the SCV that is trying to make it. There's one Marine moving its way across the map. I really just think this is just to pressure Echo just a little bit, just to make him a little uncomfortable, make him build something other than drones right now. Because what Echo is doing just kind of in terms of like a philosophical standpoint is really like the counter to what Ender is doing. Ender is playing greedy, but his opponent is just playing greedier. And the thing is that like Terran can't play both greedy and aggressive at the same time. They can't make that quick switch. Zerg can do that much easier than Terran can because of the way that their larva mechanic works versus the way that Terran's production works, where you have to construct those barracks. But now Ender is going to be going for a little bit of an early aggression than he went for last time. He's not throwing down those double engineering bays. He's just going for a factory and 2 additional barracks to bring his barracks count up to 3. So he's going to be going for a much earlier push than we saw on the last map.
Yep, he's going for Reactor Hellion opening, which is actually a pretty good decision on his part. The creep spread is definitely not going to be there, so he will be able to punish the third a little bit and cause a little bit of damage, and then, of course, he'll be able to transition very, very easily back into the tank marine style. Echo's actually grabbing 3 gas right now, so talk about greedy, man. This guy goes up to 3 hatcheries before getting his spawning pool. Now he's currently sitting on 3 gas. He's going to have to build an early baneling nest or something in order to hold this, or maybe just try and punish Ender when he moves across the map. I don't know what exactly he can do, but Echo is now getting into the main with an Overlord. There is actually Marine. They're already starting to shoot it. The Overlord is actually going to scout the timing of the tech lab on the barracks, but this Overlord is going to get a full scout. The second Marine does join the fray, but what's very important here, this Overlord kind of needs to see this Reactor Hellion opening. He does see the reactor, but he does not see the factory, so that will definitely be a signifier for him. He is getting speed, and there's the baneling nest.
He already has a Roach Warren going down too, or did he cancel it? He may have canceled that
He
Roach
did cancel
Warren.
that and swatch it for the Baneliness, but getting a layer too. Wow, this guy's playing really, really thin right now.
Yeah, he is. He definitely saw what ended in the last game, and he's like, okay, I see what he's doing. This is how I want to play against. So there's really two philosophies for going against Ender. Obviously, as you guys can't already tell, I really was a fan of being an aggressive Zerg player like the July-esque style. But instead, Echo is going for a lot of just heavy, heavy, heavy economy, and it's really paying off for him. He's ahead of his opponent's worker count, but he now has Hellions to contend with. He doesn't have speed on his Zerglings just yet. There is a Queen over in the fourth base location, but it doesn't even look like Echo's going to even pull those drones. Just now he's pulling those drones. So he did get a bunch of those drones fried. So 5 workers have gone down for Echo already by these Hellions. These Hellions are still actually causing some damage, and without speed on those Zerglings, Echo can't even really afford to give chase right now. So look at these Hellions. 9 kills on one, 5 kills on the other. They have already paid for themselves many times over. And without that Roach Warren, Echo can't even afford to go on offense at all. He just pretty much has to take these licks and just keep on ticking.
I am smiling. I wish it was showing right now. I'm grinning right now. Ender's build is just amazing. It's disgustingly strong. He's getting a third base, and he's pushing across the map right now with Marauder, Marine, Hellion. This timing is so amazing. He's going to be able to punish Echo so hard for being so greedy, but he needs to go. Those 18 Zerglings in production, there are no Banelings as of yet, so he needs to push. The Banelings are actually being created right now in the back over by the brush. That's a very nice positioning on his part. 2 engineering base to follow it up. Ender needs to be very, very careful here. He cannot sacrifice these Hellions to the Banelings. He needs the Hellions in order to kill off the Zerglings. And is he actually going to see it? He is able to see a bunch of Banelings be morphed, and now Ender's going to have to split his army. He needs to get the Hellions in the back. The Banelings connect on top of the Hellions and Marauders, but it doesn't do enough here. And actually, Ender should be able to survive this engagement. And yes, he does. He still has 4 Marauders and a Marine on the field. 30 Zerglings are in production. And this is so nice by Ender. I'm so impressed right now. He's going to get fully surrounded by these Zerglings, but he doesn't have any reinforcements on the way. He's getting a third base. These Lings are going to be completely useless in a moment here. He has 20 Zerglings on the field, and now he's starting to drone back up. This is amazing. I'm so giddy right now.
I love this decision by Echo. He saw what his opponent did. He went for Marauder Hellion, and now look what Echo's doing. He is throwing down a Spire in these positions with his opponent's unit composition. He cannot produce the Marines in the high enough numbers to actually deal with a very heavy Mutalisk push. And now Ender is already compensating for this. He is swapping some tech labs over, but I like this decision by Echo. I don't think he should over-invest into this, but these Mutalisks are really going to shut down any attempt by Ender to push across the map without a very heavily upgraded Marine tank force. And behind this, Echo is just continuing to make workers. He's up to 57 workers, but look at Ender, up to 54 workers, keeping toe-to-toe with his Zerg opponent. He will be able to actually establish that 4th base very, very soon if he wants to.
Yeah, this is very interesting to fall back. We're kind of going back to the norm where we're getting, we're going to see Mutalisk versus a Bioforce with tanks on Terran. So kind of going back to, a year ago, getting +1 before he starts any Mutalisk production. And I'm not sure what Ender's referencing. I believe he canceled 2 buildings. Not sure he's going to...
I think he can't move his siege tanks out. That bunker was blocking his siege tanks from actually moving down to the low ground, so only now is he able to cancel it. And what's funny is that there were 2 changelings in Ender's army that were able to actually... There's one of the changelings. There's the other changeling down here at the low ground. So it's always funny for me when I see these changelings actually out on the field, like, doing their job. It's like I can kind of like picture it from the Marines' point of view. It's like, hey, who's the weirdo over there not standing with the squad? What is he doing? You think he's better than everybody else? It's like, no, he's actually a Zerg changeling, and he's just spying on all of you. So the upgrades right now are actually a lot better for Echo than they were for Ender in the last game. 2-2 is already halfway done for the Zerg player. 1-1 is just finishing now for Ender. What is a little interesting, though, is that neither of these players has really even started to build a 4th base yet.
Yeah, I was expecting the Zerg player to do it. I think he will once these Mutalisks finish, but at this point, he already has an army on the way. He can start constructing Thors. He's getting a second factory going up to 6 gas. He already has the Marines in position to catch the Mutalisks as they come in. And of course, these Marines have 1-1, which is very, very hard for the Mutalisks to contend with. The Mutalisks will reach the base just before +1 will finish. My question is, where is the infestation pit? Is he going to follow this up with more Mutalisks, or is he going to transition to later stages? And as well, again, where is the 4th base from Echo? There we go, dropped at the northern side of the map. I see just the faded building, so it looks like there's a drone heading up there. He could actually take a 5th as well. There's not actually, he probably should here. Now the question is, how well can Echo micro these Mutalisks? Very nicely done, not even taking a first shot from the Marines, but there's already missile turrets in wonderful positioning, a bunker as well. I'm loving this, man. Ender's just doing a great job right now. He's going to start getting plus vehicle weapons. 2-2 is on the way, a sensor tower, and he's going to sit comfortably on 6 gas.
I'm not sure when it happened, J Morrow, but Ender already has full vision of Echo's base, so he was able to drop a scan that I did not see, was able to recognize that his opponent was going for Spire, and look at his defenses. His defenses are rock solid. 2 turrets in the third, 2 turrets in the main. He has a sensor tower down at the third base, so he's even able to spot when the Mutalisks go up to a fourth base location if he so desires to build it. And just now, Echo is going for a fourth base of his own. So even though Echo opened with such a greedy opening, he hasn't been as greedy as I've seen most Zerg players play in the mid game, and it's kind of hurting him a little bit. Ender's up to 162 supply of Marine tank that's upgraded versus Zergling, Baneling, Mutalisk. And what's funny is that this style kind of fell out of favor a little bit over the course of StarCraft 2 because of how cost inefficient it was at higher supply counts. So Echo really needs to get a very good engagement. He needs to decisively wipe Ender's army when he moves out, but that's only going to happen if Ender is not on top of his unit control, which he has been in the last 2 games.
Yep, and now he's actually getting Thors on the field. I feel like Echo's making a bad decision here. He's going to try and engage on this. These Mules have done 0 damage. Plus 2 weapons is on the way. So here comes Echo. Going to try and bait out the stim. And here we go. Looks like he's going to engage on this. Very nicely done by Ender, splitting up his Marines. There is a bunker there as well. The Marines are just target burning down all the Mutalisks. And oh my god, look at the supply differential. A 25 supply difference. And what did Ender lose there? A bunch of tanks and some Marines. He still has 60 Marines on the field. And now he's getting a 4th command center as well. The Thor pushing out. And Echo does not have an infestation pit. Does not have the upgrades he needs in order to hold this. Honestly, he might be in a lot of trouble here. He does have 2-2 for his Zerglings. The medevac count was knocked down, so that will prevent these Marines from being able to get any health back. Plus 3 weapons on the way, 14 Banelings. As long as Ender does this properly and doesn't overextend his army, he's going to be in a pretty good spot, but ooh, he's stimming a little bit too much for my taste.
I can't believe I just saw that, J Morrow. I mean, I try not to be critical of players sometimes, but why would you assault that position on this map as a Zerg player with labeling Muta? That is like, that should have been ingrained in your head since Season 2. You do not assault a fortified Terran position on Shakura's Plateau with Zerglings, Banelings, and Mutalisks. You get massacred on this map. I don't know why Echo thought that was going to work, but he lost a huge portion of his army. There are now drops in play also at the top of the map. This map is so good for Terran drop play. And the thing is, Echo is not really able to transition out of this. Pathogen Glands is not even done yet. The first infestors are going to be out on the field only when this army gets on the front doorstep of Echo's army. His bank is almost non-existent. And look at the bank of Ender. He's up to 1,200 minerals, 1,000 gas. He's 191 supply. He's just in such a good position at this point. Only a terrible engagement from Ender at this point would really cause him a lot of problems right now. And his control has just been so good, like I've been saying for the last few games, that this is looking really, really good for him.
That's actually correct, and I agree. I don't think Ender should actually engage on this, though. I feel like you should try and contain Echo for a little while, get an extra base up on him or two. He's actually taken out the rocks at the northern side, so we'll be able to run to the map. But actually, looks like Echo's going to push forward here. The Marines are stimmed. Actually, the Zerglings running to the back. The Banelings connecting on majority of the siege tanks. The Infestors are not able to get too many fungals off. One in the top left, very nicely done by Echo. But there's the GG, and Ender actually taking a second game off of Area 51 Gaming.
The tank spread right there, J Morrow. Like, I saw Ender positioning the tanks. They were just in a beautiful concave. There were tanks behind the brush. There were tanks down at the lower cliff. Their tanks were spread out along the cliff so that they couldn't be surrounded by Zerglings. And the moment I saw Echo advance into that army, I was like, this is not going to go over very well. And he just got splattered with artillery on all sides, lost most of his ground army almost instantaneously. The Thor did so much damage to the Mutalisks. It was just a massacre. If you are a Terran player and you saw that happen right now, you were like, good, I'm glad Zerg finally got some of what it deserves for all the hassle they've been giving me on ladders. So you can thank Ender for that brilliant demonstration of the firepower in the Terran military against Zerg forces. And he's also demonstrating the firepower that's in Impulse's arsenal, because he has tied this series up 2-2. We now have a real ball game going on right now.
Yeah, I'm actually disappointed I didn't get to see Echo's style come out a little bit more. He had a very nice opener. He transitioned properly. He just didn't expand there. I mean, he had the Mutalisks on the field. That's usually when you take a fourth, possibly a fifth, or at least a macro hatchery, and start teching a different direction. He said, you know what, my Mutalisks aren't working out. so I'm going to keep building Mutalisks and get +2. I feel like that was a bad decision on his part. It was a little bit tunnel vision, if you will. I feel like if he would have transitioned to the Infestors right there, taken an extra base, contemplated maybe going a different direction with the Spire, that may actually helped him out. But I mean, I'm not trying to take it away from Ender by any means, but if it was very, very nicely done by both sides. But like you said, now we are tied 2-2.
All right, well, we're going to get into this discussion afterward. We have another commercial break on the way. Stick with us, guys. Game number 5 of this tied 2-2 series will be here in just a few moments. Stick with us. This is the ISTL.
And welcome back, guys. This is ISTL Day 1, Season 3. I'm Jay Morrow here with Vindicare. We're currently actually sitting between games going into the 5th game. Currently it is tied 2-2 on both ends. And so far, I mean, what are your thoughts, Vindicare?
This is a great opening to the ISTL. Those are my thoughts. I'm like, we already have a really good series underway between these two powerful teams, and Ender has just been a really powerful player for Team Impulse already. And I mean, my thoughts going into this next game was that, like, I was so convinced that you were right that we were going to see a Protoss on Ohana on the last map. You said that combination, and I was like, that makes so much sense. This man is smart. This man deserves to have the Twitter followers that he does. And then all of a sudden, we saw a Zerg come out on Shakura's plateau, and it was just it was like siege takes, man. Siege takes on Shakura's plateau just obliterate everything. And I'm like, okay, now we're sitting here at Game 5 going into probably a Protoss player on Ohana. So that's probably what I think is going to happen next.
Yeah, honestly, that's what I was just going to say. I mean, hopefully, I mean, maybe not. He may actually pick Tome Valley as well. I mean, that's not a bad choice by any means. I would say.
No.
I'm sorry.
It's definitely like a solid choice overall. It's one of those maps that like everybody like enjoys it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you know, picking in Tome Valley versus Ohana, I think it could go either way. It depends on the person's play style, especially with the metagame. But I think that's really going to come down to the player's choice.
Definitely, for sure. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick moment to thank our sponsors. First, we got Max and Maxoutstudios.com. He has been sponsoring us for the last 2 seasons now. If you guys are looking for graphical work to get done, he's definitely a guy to go talk to. Talk to him at Maxoutstudios.com. We also got the CSN, who has been sponsoring this time around for the MVP award, I think, is going to be by them also this season. So Thank you so much to them for sponsoring the ISTL. The music that was played at the very beginning is by Fourth Angel. You can find them on YouTube. They are just FORTH Angel, Fourth Angel. Why don't you take care of the rest of our sponsors, Jamar?
Absolutely. So you've already said Cyber Sports Network, which of course the website is cyber-sports.net. And then of course Impulse Esports. If it wasn't for them, none of us would be here. And then I think the only other one you missed was Vivid Arts, which again, if you want to contact him, Twitter, it's at Insidia SC2. That's his Twitter, so you can follow him on there. Just let him know what you thought of his work, or if you need anything, just go on question or ask him any questions you need. And then as well, his email is jason.pun. That's PUN @gmail.com.
Thank you once again to just a big overall thank you to all of our sponsors for supporting the ISTL. Thank you to all of our teams for competing. So you guys are already like producing some epic games for us to get this series started. And thank you to all you fans that are tuning in to this very first day. I hope you guys like what you are seeing. If you like this very first broadcast of season number 3, please hit that follow button on Twitch. We will be doing this is a league, so we'll be doing this all month and probably into the next couple months. We got a lot more StarCraft action coming up. We got more games coming up tomorrow, more games coming up next week, all sorts of fun stuff for everybody to come up. So we have
I'm grinning.
We have Ohana, and it is going to be Kitty. So this is going to be the heavyweight match between these two sides. We got Ender for Team Impulse and Kitty for Area 51. Top level Protoss player. I actually have a stat in front of me. I think he actually finished top 8 in the WCS at Anaheim at the round of 8 at MLG Raleigh. I think that's what I've been told right now. So he is definitely a very, very competitive Protoss player for Team Area 51, and this is going to be on Ohana. And you were saying that people are kind of in disagreement about how this map goes for this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, some players, everybody has an opinion about it. Some players say that Terran versus Protoss go either way. From what I've seen statistically, though, I believe Terran is slightly favored. It's not enough to have any sort of arguments about, but I think it's a pretty good map overall. The reason is that Terran timings are so vicious on this map. So we'll have to see if that does come into play from Ender. But of course, Kitty is, from numbers-wise, I don't know as far as tournaments or anything, he is their ace player. So this is going to be pretty epic, to be honest. I'm excited.
This is gonna be a very hyped up match for these two teams on the map that means family. I know everybody's sick of that joke. This is gonna be a Terran versus Protoss. Game number 5 starting up just right now. We have our red Protoss player. He is from Team Area 51. Can he stop Ender before his kill streak gets any longer? From Team Area 51, we have Kitty.
And spawning up here in the top left corner from actually Impulse Esports, we do have Ender as our blue Terran. And honestly, I feel like this game is very, very, very important at this point. I know that's an obvious thing to say and kind of sounds kind of dumbfounded, but my point is, I mean, these are the two heavyweights. I mean, if Impulse Esports does end up losing this game, I mean, they have some players to follow it up, but I just feel like this game is so, so important from both sides right now.
Yeah, definitely. From the opposite side of the spectrum, if Kitty falls to Ender, Ender's kill streak is up to 3, and he's riding a wave of momentum. The morale for the team cannot be any higher, and the possibility of an all-kill coming from Ender could just be something that would just motivate him to kill his last opponent if he gets through Kitty. So definitely a very crucial game from both sides here. The winner of this will probably be the winner of this series. That's just kind of like an ambiguous obligatory call from me going into this game. But we do have a Terran versus Protoss here, and it looks like for both players we are going to be seeing a 13 gate coming up here for Kitty. And for Ender, what's curious is that he'd been opting not to wall off in the Terran versus Zerg matchup, and he's walling off in the Terran versus Protoss matchup. And you would think, just kind of like a spectator, that like you would that's kind of be like an opposite of what you would normally expect.
That's a very, very good point. And as well, Ender's going to play the same style that he's been comfortable with so far. He's going for a command center first versus a quick gas after gateway here. So we might see a Cybercore expand. We may see some sort of one-base play from Kitty. We will have to see, based on his second pylon placement, I believe that does signify we will see a Nexus here, probably around 25 food or so, though.
But we are going to also see this probe just duking it out with a couple of SCVs over here. But Ender's actually pulling 2 SCVs to deal with this. So Kitty's probe is going to be forced back a little bit, but he does know now that his opponent is going for that command center first build, and we do have a cybernetics core going down right now. Now the big thing right now, is this going to be a rush, or is this just going to be what you alluded to a little bit earlier, a cyber core expand build?
Yep, we'll have to see if he gets the second gas geyser. The second gas geyser should go down in about just a few seconds here. There we go. There's the second gas geyser. So it looks like it is going to be a 1 base opener, and actually 2 barracks coming out from our Terran player to follow it up after the 1 racks. If he actually does go for, say, 3, possibly even 4 barracks off of 2 base without gas, he can basically hold any sort of 1 base timing without any complications whatsoever. It's really going to determine how greedy does Ender play this game. Of course, we saw in the last game that they tried to punish him. Echo tried to punish him, but it just did not happen. And a bunker going down as well. So things are looking pretty good for Ender right now.
Ooh. We have a Twilight Council going down. I'm feeling some Dark Templar, J. Morrow.
Puck style.
I was saying it when I was casting over the weekend for a Playham tournament that in every single series, in every single tournament, you could always expect at least 1 player to utilize Dark Templar. I think that's what we might be seeing. This might be a Dark Templar drop, as a matter of fact. This could also be a very powerful blink timing, utilizing the observers to blink up onto the high ground. But either one of these pushes could be a very powerful play coming from our Protoss player. So we'll have to see if he uses that 150 gas for blink in just a moment. And there it is. So it is going to be a blink stalker observer timing push. And with just Marines out right now, if Kitty has some really good control, which I've seen him play in the past, and he definitely does, this could be a very big problem for Ender. He really is going to need concussive shells Marauders if he wants to deal with those.
To be honest, if he has 4 barracks, which he's currently going up to with no gas, I think he's okay. It's really going to come down to his control in that regard. It's going to be very close here, man. To be honest, I mean, both these players are very, very high caliber. Kitty has a big, big hill to climb here, and there's the gas geyser from Ender. So what is he going to do with this gas geyser? Oh, actually transferring. Oh, pulling all of his SCVs off momentarily. A little bit of a misstep from Ender. That's definitely not going to hurt him like drastically, but it's just something you don't want to do in a situation like this, because this is going to be a very short game. Every mineral, every SCV is going to count here. Warp Gear research is now done. Looks like he is actually warping a bunch of stalkers in across the field here. There are 4 stalkers, a 5th stalker being warped in. The observer is halfway across the map, and here comes the SCV. So what does the SCV here? This is going to be very, very important for Mender. He's not actually taking the watchtower, just running right by. Oh, and the stalkers are actually going to pay off. Why? Oh, Kitty shows his hand a little bit, and now there are 2 SCVs, actually 3 SCVs being idle, kind of sitting on the southern base, and there's another bunker going down in the main, up to 5 barracks as well.
There are 4 bunkers being constructed by J. Morrow. Ender is not fooling around. He recognizes the threat that this push poses, but here come the stalkers. That is now 8 stalkers in the main base of Ender. 8 stalkers versus 13 Marines. He's going to have to pull some SCVs. He's going to hold this off, but there goes the blink back from Kitty. Most stalkers have gone down yet, but a lot of Marines have already gone down. A lot, really, really good micro by Kitty, utilizing the maximum effectiveness of those stalkers. And now he's going to blink out of the main base before he loses too much, or is he? There he goes, blinking down to the low ground with stalkers still on the high ground, and a lot has gone down for Ender. Kitty really utilizing those blink stalkers beautifully.
11 workers killed by Kitty right now. If Ender is actually able to scan and kill this observer, this attack is over, but it doesn't look like he's going to do that. The SCVs are getting a full surround, now blinking out. 5 stalkers are left on the field. Resources lost show 1,500 versus 900 there. So Kitty actually closing the gap a little bit there, losing a couple of stalkers, but Ender is actually okay right now. It's 19 SCVs to 23 probes, but now Kitty is in the natural, so this is going to be even harder to hold because there are more areas to blink back on, killing more and more SCVs, trying to blink out there. Very nice. The concussive shell is just about done, and now Kitty is just going to rotate back and forth, 1,700 resources to 1,050 right now. And actually, oh no, Kitty, if he pushes up the ramp here, this is going to be very, very nice by him, because Ender's is actually up in the main, picking off 2 more SCVs, trying to salvage these 2 bunkers. There's 200 minerals that he really cannot lose at this point, and oh wow, he does get the salvage off in time.
That salvage is actually clutch, giving him the amount of resources that he needs to actually continue producing units. But the soccer count is not getting any smaller, J. Morrow. He needs Marauders if he wants to be able to combat this army cost effectively. The soccer count is now up to 11 versus 11 Marines and 1 Marauder. When your Protoss opponent has more units than you as a Terran player, you know you are in trouble. Here come the Blink Stalkers, being able to take down that barracks, but now they are focus firing down the bunker. Blinking back. No Stalkers are going down, but a lot. The bunker does go down. Here comes the last engagement, but I think that Kitty has enough. I think he will be able to take this off, but all of his Stalkers are damaged, but no, it does look like Kitty will be able to break through here just barely.
Yeah, very nicely done to 23 supply. There's the GG from Ender. And wow, very nicely done by Kitty, guys. So right now, Area 51 Gaming is up 3-2. And this next game is very important because this could be it. Area 51 could actually take the series with this following game.
You know, I didn't think that when I casted Playhand last weekend that I would get to see Kitty utilize Blink Stalkers beautifully in Protoss versus Protoss, and then utilize them so beautifully in Protoss versus Terran also. This guy loves his Blink Stalkers. Keep your eyes open for this, guys. If you are going to have to face this guy in a tournament, he knows how to utilize Blink Stalkers. He just knocked out the guy that was on a 2-kill streak on his team, utilizing a Blink Stalker timing on Ohana. And now he is in a right position to give his team the victory in this series. And Impulse is in trouble. They need to think of something. They need to think of something drastic if they want to knock this guy out. I do not recommend them sending out a Protoss. Kitty's Protoss versus Protoss is too good for that. But his Protoss versus Terran, I mean, they did just use up Ohana, and he did manage to beat Ender using kind of a gimmicky one base build. I say kind of gimmicky because he was really just responding to what Ender was doing and going for that command center first.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I'm trying to think because Tome Valley still left in the map pool. Metropolis, Whirlwind are the only maps left. So I don't think they want to send a Zerg player out just based on that map pool specifically. But I'm trying to think what else they could really do at this point. Their number one player is Ender, and then it is Regret, which is a Zerg player just based on numbers. The next one is a Protoss player named Zion. So, I mean, they have a couple of options available. We'll have to see what do they decide to do here. I'm trying to see if we get any sort of update to see if they are, which phase they're. Because I honestly cannot decide. Just based on how small the map pool is at this point, I wouldn't know what to do in their coach's situation.
I think it will. I think it probably will be in Tuned Valley either way. Maybe not if it's a Zerg player that they're going to be sending out next. They might utilize one of the last few maps that are remaining. I'm trying to actually get the full map pool up in front of me. I have it here
if you need it.
Yeah. What other maps are there available besides Entombed Valley?
It's Entombed Valley, Metropolis, and Whirlwind is available. So Metropolis is still there. Very, very good map for Zerg. So we could actually see that. But that's probably their best choice if they want to send out a Zerg. Let's see here.
I mean, Metropolis does have that critical... that one warp prism push strategy that's so popular on it that could be hard to hold for a Zerg player. Honestly, I'm really feeling that we're going to be seeing a Zerg next, especially because there's so many good Zergs on Team Impulse already. I really think that we're going to be seeing a Zerg, and if we're going to be seeing a Zerg of the maps that are remaining, it probably makes the most sense.
Okay. I'll trust your judgment on that. I really want to know what the confirmed decision is. I mean, I feel like their coach is probably sitting there kind of looking at the ground going, okay, what do I do here? I mean, this is a very uncomfortable situation. This is day one. I'm very impressed, though, that Ender was actually able to take 2 games back and actually almost win a 3rd game against Kitty. Kitty definitely showing some very impressive micro. Reminded me a little bit of JYP, just how precise it was, not actually losing any of those stalkers early on and actually getting them all down to red health before they did fall. So, I don't know, man. Kitty's warmed up at this point.
I mean, that's why I said originally, J. Morrow, that Blink Stalkers against Marines, Blink Stalkers are actually, they're underrated against Marines. Really, the only reason you don't see Blink Stalkers utilized more often is because of how cost inefficient they are against Marauders. Against straight Marines, especially with no medevacs and especially with no stim, you can micro Blink Stalkers all day against Marines. They don't take that much damage because they have armor. They are just such a good unit to utilize against Marines. So a really good decision by Kitty to actually go for that build. I'm actually totally like supportive of that decision that he made, especially considering how strong Ender looks in the late game with his mechanics. And it turns out that you were right. We are going to be seeing Metropolis next, but what race are we going to be seeing coming
I'm gonna
out
say
from these
regret.
two?
I'm gonna say Zerg regret right now. That is my only call. There he goes joining the channel actually right now. So it looks like we are gonna have a PVZ here. It's gonna be Impulse's regret versus Area 51's Kitty. So very nice to get another PVZ. Actually, another one. Is this our first one? I think it's.
No, our very first game was the Protoss versus Zerg.
That's right. That is absolutely correct.
This map, like I said before, the only reason why I don't feel like this map would have been the choice for the Zerg player is because of that one annoying push that Protoss can do utilizing warp prisms and sentries on the high ground to kind of cut the Zerg's natural off from the main base. It's been something I have seen and faced so many times on this map, and it's something that I've seen so many top-level Zergs lose to on this map that it's something I think a lot of Zerg players would avoid if they could. But it could be that Regret has more experience playing on Metropolis than he does on a map like Whirlwind. So, and then obviously, I think a lot of Zerg players at this point are trying to shy away from Vortex Valley in Protoss versus Zerg, especially if your entire team is kind of behind you on it. But Regret's got to win this one. He's got to win this one for his team. His team is down 3-2. If Kitty takes this, we will be seeing a 4-2 win for Area 51. So Regret's got a lot of work ahead of him. Can he pull it off? We'll have to find out.
That is absolutely correct, guys. It looks like the countdown is going to start any second here. Both players seem to be ready. There's the go-go from actually Regret. So good luck, have fun on both sides. The countdown timer will begin in just a second, guys. We are entering in. This is going to be the 6th game. Yes, 3-2. So this is a best of 7 series, guys. This could actually close out our night if Kitty is able to take this game back. But I don't know, man. I have a lot of confidence in Regret here. This is a good map choice, a good matchup overall. We'll have to see how he does.
We'll definitely have to see how he does indeed. He has a lot of work cut out for him. Can he pull it off? He is spawning down here in the top or in the bottom left, mid left. Is this bottom left or mid left position on this map, Jamar? I can't really tell. It is more like the 8 o'clock position on the map, Metropolis. He is our blue Zerg player. He is from Team Impulse. He is Regret.
And spawning in the center northern side of the map. Up actually 1 game right now, I believe. 1 game, 2 games, 2 games. 1 game. Yeah, 1 game because he just took out Ender. We do an Area 51. Kitty as our red Protoss.
That's like the 11:45 position on this map. Really like in between like 11 and 12, kind of. It's a really like tough call to make, like what position that's actually in. This is kind of an interesting version of this map. This is like the new version, the new version of this map that's like had a lot of the doodads removed, if you can tell. It's like a much simpler version of this map, and I can already tell because my frame rates are a lot better on this map than they normally are. So I'm just like taking like this observation. I'm so used to seeing Metropolis, but I'm not used to seeing it without the landing pads and without all of the other interesting things on it that make it so iconic.
That's actually kind of an interesting point. I never even thought about that. I mean, I wonder if that'll affect the players a little. But actually, Kitty going to drop a pylon a little bit prematurely here. He's trying to block the hatchery, but I mean, most Zerg players are going spawning pool first. So there is the spawning pool going up into the main, and now he's actually going to patrol the northern side. So my question is, I mean, we saw Kitty play against the Terran. He did a very interesting strategy. Is he going to do something creative again, or is he just going to play standard Protoss and decide from there? Looks like Regret is actually going to start chasing the probe, actually letting the pylon finish. Kind of interesting. That does actually put the Zerg in an interesting predicament because now he is forced to take this 3rd location, and the gap or the distance is quite a lot.
Yeah, that pro is actually going to be able to block him too. So Kitty getting everything that he wants right now. At the beginning of this game, he will be able to drop down that Nexus, and he's drastically delaying Regret from even being able to drop that first expansion. But is this just a fake from Regret? Is he just going to be going into a very heavy Zergling build from here? Or is he just trying to play this out standard? Now, the one thing about Metropolis, which separates it a little bit from Daybreak in the Protoss versus Zerg matchup, is the presence of these destructible debris over here dividing the natural and the 3rd base. Normally, if you do this sort of maneuver that Kitty has gone for at the very beginning of this game on Daybreak, Zerg players don't care. They're like, oh, you're going to put a pylon there? Well, I'm just going to go and expand at my 3rd base location because that's what I was going to do anyway. But here, because of this presence of this destructible debris, if you go for that pylon block and they make their 3rd base immediately, it's much more exposed to earlier gateway heavy timing attacks than it would be on Daybreak because Zergs need to knock down that debris. So, will Kitty abuse that, or is he just trying to take economic advantages over his opponent? We'll have to see how this plays out the way that he plays the rest of it.
That's actually a very good point. I was actually trying to decide. I'm like, you know what? I wonder if he is trying to line this up for some sort of timing here. But to be honest, just based on what we saw in the last game, I think Kitty's going to play this game pretty standard. I think he's going to macro up, focus primarily on cone boosting. We'll probably see him get a high sentry count, knock down the rocks between his second and third, and go for a comfortable third and push it to the mid game and even the later stages of this game. But of course, only Kitty knows, and of course, he does have to play reactive to Regret. Regret does have his third hatchery down. Did actually Kitty see it? He did not, so he does not have confirmation of the third, but he can basically assume it at this point just because, you know, you're not going to take a far expansion like that and then do something crazy, in most circumstances at least.
Oh, you said something that just like flooded me with all of like this brainstorming for what you could do with this guy's name. You're like, only Kitty knows. And I'm just thinking you could like post like a cat picture and you could have like a cat like, playing a game of StarCraft and he's like utilizing Blink Stalkers or something and then the cat's just like only Kitty knows.
Best meme ever.
Like, if this guy ever became a super famous like StarCraft player, you know that you'd be seeing so many cat pictures out in the crowd of MLG of people that were fans of this guy. Here we have a Stargate now going down for Kitty, so now we have the answer to our question. We will not be seeing that abusive Warp Prism Sentry play on this map. We will not be seeing a super heavy gateway attack either. Instead, we're going to be seeing, as a spectator, what I enjoy seeing the most in Protoss versus Zerg. How will Kitty utilize the units out of these Stargates? Will he go for nothing but Phoenixes and try and gain map control with them? Or will he play a little bit more of a more aggressive build that utilizes Void Rays with gateway units? He also now has a robotics facility going down also. So this could be kind of an interesting strategy where he utilizes Warp Prisms in conjunction with these Stargate units, but that could also just be for an observer, and he could just be playing this out super normal from here. But who knows? Only Kitty knows.
Oh, jeez. You know, my personal opinion on it, I think the robotics facility is a little bit of a bait and switch here. I think what he's going to do is mass up a decent number of Phoenix, and he's going to leave the robotics facility there. He's not getting any sort of upgrades from his forge as of yet. So he primarily, in my opinion, is looking to use this for observers, possibly get a couple of Immortals out. But I'm guessing he's just kind of putting it here. He's putting it in a very, very wide open spot for that Overlord 2 scout, as opposed to where his Stargate is. He's got the sentry down there. He actually has a cannon down there as well. So scouting that's a little bit more difficult.
Agreed, it definitely is. And you were saying bait and switch, and actually and this is what I initially thought that you meant. I think what Kitty's going to do is he's going to utilize these Phoenixes and try and force Hydralisks out. And if he can manage to do that, he's going to hit a Colossus timing after that. And even if he doesn't force Hydralisk, as long as he doesn't lose these Phoenixes, a Colossus timing attack is so deadly if you have Phoenixes that can pick up Queens, that can block Corruptor shots, that can pick up Roaches. As long as Kitty stays cost-effective with these Phoenixes, does economic damage, just slows his opponent's economy down, this Colossus timing is going to be so powerful.
This is very interesting. I'm actually very impressed by Kitty's build so far. I think this is going to work out very well for him. There he goes, picking up the Queen instantaneously. Spore Crawlers are on the way. He is going to kill this Queen off in one volley because Phoenix, with 4 Phoenix, are able to do that. Now he's just going to start picking off Overlords left and right. There's the first Overlord going down. That is going to supply cap him. No Overlords are in production yet. And now he's going to be further supply capped. Uh-oh. This is a slippery slope here. 3 Overlords are in production, but now he loses a third one. If he keeps picking off Overlords at this rate, it's going to be very hard for Regret to try and stay up in this.
Like I said before, J-Maro, the big problem right now is not necessarily the Phoenixes. The Phoenixes are just going to slow Regret down. And Regret is not going to be able to make the units that he needs to really block the Colossus push that's coming. You have Thermal Lances being researched now. That first Colossus is on the way. You've got Gateway units just continuing to pile up. And behind all of this, Regret can't do anything. He's stuck in his base. He's making Overlords. He's not able to get his economy up. He's not able to get his tech up. He's really just sitting here going like, oh, I hope these Phoenixes don't come back. I need to just have them leave me alone for a second so I can actually build up my base. But Kitty's not going to leave him alone. He's just going to keep coming back and poking at him with these Phoenixes. And the big push is actually going to come in just a little bit with these Colossus.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to follow it up with a +1 attack and Colossus. So this is kind of interesting. I really like how he's using these Phoenix so far. And Regret actually took quite a bit of damage there, being delayed. His larva count was very, very high. There he goes. 21 roaches are in production. So I don't know if Regret hit the panic button and he's going to go for a push here, or if he's expecting some sort of follow-up. But Kitty's taking a third right now. So there is no timing as of yet. There is a Twilight Council coming down, so he's going to follow it up with Blink. This is very, very interesting from Kitty so far. Looking at the probe count, is 63 to 63 right now. So tied, and now Regret is supply capped on a bunch of useless units.
I don't know about useless units so right now, J. Morrow. He does have a window of opportunity. His opponent's ground army is still very small. He only has a small handful of sentries and 2 Colossus, no Immortals, and very few gateway units. He only has 3 warp gates. If Regret was going to hit an offensive timing, this is probably the best one that he could possibly hit. And look at all these roaches coming in. It's going to take some brilliant force fields by Kitty if he really wants to stay cost effective against this. But look at how many roaches that is. If these force fields aren't perfect, this is going to spiral out of control in a hurry for Kitty. And here come the roaches. They're actually splitting into 2 different forces. I don't know if I actually agree with this decision, but here the roaches are actually attacking one of the Colossus and one of the cannons, and this is not going all that well for Regret. Regret is taking fire from 2 sides of these roaches, but a few roaches have been able to actually break through the front door of Kitty's main base. They're trying to focus fire down that Colossus. 1 Colossus does go down, but there are 2 Colossus still remaining. The Phoenixes are sitting idle in the middle of the map, and they could be helping to actually pick up some of these roaches and do some damage to them. And this is starting to spiral a little bit out of control for Kitty. His 3rd Nexus is under fire. He has roaches in the main base that he's just now cleaning up. He cannot afford to lose any more of those Colossus, but it does look like Regret is done for the moment. He's going to pull back a little bit, and now going back into the natural. Going to focus fire down that pylon, at least try to, but the force field keeps him out. Focus fire down the warp gate, and when is Regret actually going to finish with this attack? That looks like it will be it. It looks like he's just starting to fall back a little bit now.
Yeah, I'm shut me up very well. Regret doing a very nice job of splitting up his roaches. That's exactly what we want to do with the slow. I don't want to say immobile army that Kitty has right now, but I mean he's relying primarily on these Colossi, and now the roaches are in the main. They're going to wreak havoc on all these probes. Oh man, 15 probe kills, 17 probe kills. The 3rd is still being punished. There are more units coming from the front. Kitty at 110 supply, still trying to hold on. A Colossi does pop out, but is instantly going to get target fired by all these roaches. And actually, it's going to get away here. That's a little bit missed up by Regret. Actually, no, it looks like it is going to end up getting taken out. 170 supply to 110. There are 3 Colossi, actually 4 Colossi still in the field. Starting to target fire. Rook count is starting to dip, and Regret actually down to 149 supply. Looking at the probe count, 41 to 62. And Mutalisk follow-up?
That's an interesting decision, J. Morrow. But again, look at Kitty's money. Look at his money. Look at his production. I don't really know if he can afford to spend the money that he needs on stalkers to hold off this Mutalisk army. And the thing is that look how mobile Regret's army is, and look at Kitty's army. His army is so small, he needs to keep it together if he wants to be able to deal with these roaches. If he splits it up, those roaches are going to do a lot of damage to him. But I'm just now noticing that these Phoenixes are still out on the field, which makes this Mutalisk transition all the more peculiar. These Phoenixes will actually be able to, if microed correctly, deal with that Mutalisk flock, but it's going to come down a lot to control. If those Phoenixes fall, those Mutalisks in the numbers that they're currently in, combined with those roaches, I think will be enough to finish off what Kitty has left over. But Regret, he's also taking a 4th base behind this, so he's looking really, really good right now.
Yeah, I mean, he did take the 4th. The 4th is not saturated whatsoever. Here come the Mutalists in the main. The Phoenix are going to get pulled back home very, very quickly. So here's the decision Kitty has to make. Is he going to pull his entire force back and try and defend it? But no, I mean, right now, Kitty can just melt away these Zerglings without a problem. The Zerglings are dying very, very quickly. The Phoenix are starting to target down the Mutalists. The Mutalists are target firing down the Nexus. Kitty is actually split micro and doing a great job right now, already picking off 2 of the Mutalists. Doing a great job, but hasn't even lost the Phoenix yet, picking off yet a 3rd Mutalist. And I feel like this transition may have been a mistake. Trying to micro forward, target firing down one of the Phoenix. First Phoenix does fall. And oh no, misstep Kitty down to 2 Phoenix. Very, very low Mutalisk count right now. And actually, it looks like he's going to clean up the rest of them. But now the Mutalists are forced to return home.
And here comes the counterattack by Kitty. It is 125 supply to 163. Regret needs to get rid of this Colossus count. Look at how many Colossus are in this army. There are 5 Colossus in this army, which is ridiculously absurd. But here comes the army for Regret coming down on 2 different angles. The force fields are not in time. The roaches are getting in minimum range of the Colossus. A lot of the stalkers are going down, and if those stalkers go down, which it looks like they will, the Mutalists will be able to clean up the remainder of the Colossus, and this is not looking good for Kitty at all. Those Colossus are going to try and do as much damage as they can before they are inevitably just taken out. The Mutalists are not doing like the greatest amount of damage to them, but they are still doing enough to actually kill all of them. And Kitty is going to lose all of his Colossus. And there's the GG. Regret with the perfect timing on that Roach attack that just absolutely, it was like watching a boxing match where Kitty was jabbing him, and Regret was just like taking it in the face, going like, "Oh, I can't wait to just punch you in the face right now with this haymaker," and he does. The moment that like Kitty's getting comfortable, he's like, "All right, I got this match. I just gotta wait for like the points to come in," and a big haymaker from Regret just knocks him on his butt when he just wasn't expecting it, and he just takes the game by knockout, tying this series up 3-3. We are going to Game 7.
Yeah, I'm kind of speechless right now. I'm very surprised at how that game ended up turning out. So what is left in the map pool? Well, we do have Antome Valley, Metropolis, and Whirlwind. And as far as Area 51 Gaming goes, what should they send out here? I mean, they have two Terran players at a very high caliber. We could see a Terran follow-up, so we could see a ZVT once again. But I don't know, man. That's a tough call. I don't know what I would do in the circumstances.
I think we might see another Protoss, and I think we might see an Entombed Valley. Just because I can't get over like that place's nickname. That place is now nicknamed Vortex Valley. It's something we might see, but at this point, we haven't seen a Terran from Team Area 51 yet, have we? The only Terran that we've seen today so far has been from Team Impulse.
I think you are correct.
So we might be due for another Terran player, this time from Area 51, but almost anything can happen at this point. But that's something that we're just going to have to find out. Give you guys a second to ponder about that situation. We will be back in just a second with game number 7 of this intro series of the ISTL Season 3. We will be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We are just about to get into game number 7 of the series between Team Impulse and Team Area 51 Gaming. We have Stoic Regret out here for Team Impulse as their last player. We are just waiting on Area 51 to see who they will be sending out next. If you are just joining us, I am Vindicare, and with me is Jay Morrow, and this is the Indie StarCraft Team League, and this has been an incredible series so far between these two teams.
Absolutely. I mean, if you said what are your predictions at the beginning of this game, beginning of today, I think I would have said some different numbers by far. I am very impressed by both teams sending out certain players and doing different things, but we are all tied up 3-3. This is coming down to the ace match, the final game, and Area 51 has to make a really strong decision here. This is their last choice, and it looks like the map is Whirlwind, so is it a Protoss? Is it a Protoss? Is it a Terran? It looks like it is One Trick Pony, which is a Protoss player coming out from Area 51 Gaming. So very interesting choice. This is a very specific map. You have to have a mindset of this. You have to know what you're doing going into this because it's not something we see a whole lot.
It definitely is, and it could be something that Area 51 is counting on Regret not having experience playing on that maybe One Trick Pony does. There could be a lot of things that are going into this, but a little bit about One Trick Pony. He is currently in Grandmasters League, rank 62, with a win ratio of 241 wins and 227 losses. Very, very powerful Protoss player. Does not necessarily live up to that name at all. This guy can kill you in a lot of different ways. We got to see him a little bit last season in the ISTL. I think he was playing for a different team at the time, but now he is with Area 51, and he is just a very, very powerful Protoss player.
That is absolutely correct, and I just refreshed, and yeah, you're not kidding, man. His win ratio, 51.5%, 1,659 points in Grandmasters. These guys are crazy. They play so many games. I am really, really excited. These players need to be ready quicker because I really want to know what exactly he's going to do on a map like this. We do not see Whirlwind very much, guys, and the countdown has begun. We're at 5 seconds, so we're going into the last game of a best-of-7 series between Team Impulse and Area 51 Gaming.
This is going to be epic. Whirlwind has the potential to produce some of the most epic games that I have ever seen. If you guys don't believe me, go check out Ryung versus DRG from the last Code S season for a perfect example. Game number 1 on Whirlwind. One of the best games that I have seen all year long. This map has the potential to create that. Will it give us that today, though? We'll have to see. These are two really powerful players for their respective teams. The countdown is over. Here we go. Spawning down here in the bottom left position of the map GSL Whirlwind, we have our blue Zerg player. He is Regret.
And spawning up here in the top left corner from Area 51 Gaming, we do have One Trick Pony as our red Protoss.
All right, now if you guys are a little unfamiliar with the map GSL Whirlwind, if I had to describe this map in one word, it would be enormous. Look how big this map is. This map is absolutely gigantic. The rush distances on this map are unrivaled in almost any other map that I've seen. Maybe Atlantis Spaceship might have a longer rush distance. I'm not really sure about that. But what this tends to play out in a couple different ways that I've noticed, Jamar, and tell me if you agree with me. Because the map size is so huge, most players assume that their opponent is going to play greedy. So what ends up happening is that neither side plays greedy. Because they're like, oh, you're going to play greedy, so I'm going to rush you. And he's like, well, you're going to play greedy, so I'm going to rush you. And then it turns into like this awkward thing where both sides, neither one of them opens like really economically, like optimally. And it kind of like lends itself to like strange games from then on outward.
That's actually a pretty good analysis, especially since we are seeing a gateway opening from our Protoss player. Now, this is something that has become a little bit more prevalent, but he's actually switching up. I've seen some interesting builds where players do actually go for one gate into expand against Zerg, because look how big this ramp is here. It's kind of hard to hold otherwise, but I really wonder if he's going to go for some sort of one base opening. But right now, Regret is going for pool and going for gas, so he's actually doing something a little bit different. Nothing too fancy yet, no hatchery down. So both these players kind of playing defensive, and again, I don't think there are any spawn restrictions, so neither player knows where the other one is yet.
There are no spawn restrictions on this map, and there does not need to be. This map is so huge that it doesn't matter if you spawn in cross spots, horizontal spots, or vertical spots. It is very difficult for you to actually execute any sort of ridiculous cheese build. And One Trick Pony is actually going for something that I have been in arguments with players on Team Liquid about recently, about the viability of gateway expands versus Zerg. Now, for those of you that don't know, I play random on the ladder. I know that J Mario, you play Protoss, and something that I've been having to deal with a little bit on the online community is a somewhat recent surge in a hate towards random players on the ladder, especially from Protoss players, because they're like, well, what if he's Zerg and I can't forge fast expand? And so I've had this argument with them going like, well, there is a gateway expand build that you can do that's viable against all three races if you want to. And I get a lot of Protoss feedback going like, well, no, you can't do that. You can't gateway expand against Zerg. What are you talking about, noob? Well, obviously, One Trick Pony is doing just that right now.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. He's actually following this up with a Forge and a Cybercore. There are 4 Zerglings streaming across the map, and they're actually going the wrong direction. They're going up to the top right. I think he was a little bit confused, so now he's going to have to pull those Zerglings back. There is a Zealot here, so he's going to be able to hold this very, very easily. Nexus done very quickly, and this opening from Regret may actually haunt him just a little bit here. Of course, he does actually have speed just about done. He might be able to punish his opponent by getting those Speedlings up in there, but once the Zealot's in place, it's kind of hard to do. The Zerglings are going to start poking at the Forge here, and now there's a second Zealot coming out, so at this point, I think Pony is absolutely fine, killing off almost 2 Zerglings very, very quickly here. 12 more Zerglings in production, so this is actually Regret going for the throat here very, very quickly. The hatchery at the natural is not done here. I'm not sure if this is a mistake by Regret. What do you think about this?
I mean, it does seem like this is something Regret wanted to immediately go for. He wanted to go for this early Speedling opening. It could be that he was expecting, again, a Nexus first out of his opponent, and then when he saw the gateway expand, he's like, well, I can just utilize Zerglings anyway. What I don't think he expected was for One Trick Pony to construct his wall the way that he did, especially with the as quickly as he did. So this build is working out very, very well for One Trick Pony, but this isn't necessarily a huge deal for Regret. His hatchery is a little bit later, but he will be able to take that third base location pretty soon. What I am a little curious, though, is that why he is continuing to make Zerglings, even though he knows that there's no way that those Zerglings are going to be able to actually breach the front door of that wall.
Yep, and I mean, he does have the Overlord at the natural, so he does see the gas guys are being grabbed, so he knows his opponent is teching, but Pony's only on 2 gas. He's not on 3 gas. He's playing a little bit of mind games there, switching it up, but there's actually a third cannon going up. I believe Pony thinks that there's a Baneling bust going on, but at the same time, he's just sitting back and droning. 31 probes to 23 drones. Third hatchery is now on the way, and Pony is definitely going to have a higher income for quite some time here.
Do you know the standard timing on Warp Gate with a Forge Fast Expand in Zerg versus Protoss?
I do not.
Because we are now at 9 minutes, we are now at 7 minutes in the game, and this Warp Gate tech is just now finishing for our Protoss player. And I'm trying to decide if this is slower, faster, or around the same time as that you would see with a normal Forge Fast Expand. Because obviously that gateway did get down a lot sooner, but he did plant the Cybernetics core at the same time as the Forge. So I can't really tell at this point what the timing on One Trick Pony's build is as far as his tech goes, relative to what it would be with a normal Forge Fast Expand.
Ah, there we go. I was wondering what he's going to do here. Hallucination has actually begun research. +1 weapons is on the way. Up to 4 gas and getting extra gateways. We may actually see a Twilight Council go down here. It depends what he wants to do with all these gateways. He does actually have Warp Gate research on the way. As for our Zerg player, he does have a lair finishing up. Are we going to see a Spire? Are we going to see an Infestation Pit? There's the Twilight Council from our Protoss player. +1 weapons is on the way, and I'm waiting. Where is the Infestation Pit? Where's the Spire? A Hydralisk Den! Ooh.
This is not the map I would expect to see Hydralisks on. Hydralisks are obviously have awful mobility when they are off creep. So normally, if you're going to see them at all, you usually see them on maps like Ohana, where it's a lot easier to spread creep across the map. But here on Whirlwind, of all places, look how far he has to go to actually spread any creep across the map. So this is definitely an interesting decision by Regret to go for this Hydralisk Den. Meanwhile, for One Trick Pony, he is just now starting Blink. And this is an interesting decision for Regret, because if Hydralisks are actually pretty damn good against Blink Stalkers, especially defensively, I think Regret might have just been reading what his opponent was doing, but now One Trick Pony does have the hallucination out. Did he manage to get a full scout off the main base of his opponent? So he knows that Hydralisk Den is down. He has a robotics facility going down just now. He'll probably be seeing a support bay following that.
You know, I honestly thought the Overseer was in position to do a Nidus attack here. He's already seen the Hydralisk Den, so there is a dark spot inside of our Protoss player's base where you can actually get a Nidus Canal in, but he's not started yet. We do have a robotics facility on the way, +2 weapons coming out, so he's going to jump up to Colossus Tech very quickly here. which is the perfect counter against these Hydralisks. But our Zerg player is still sitting on 3 base. Take a look at the probe count, 57 to 55 right now, ahead of our Zerg player. That's what I say. He really needs that 4th base, or at least the macro hatchery almost dead even on supply, 88 to 95. Another hallucination does come in play, but does not get full vision. +1 is on the way, or excuse me, +1 weapons for the ranged units is done. A 3rd Nexus is on the way, so I don't know, man. Regret is lining up his overlords here, or trying to. I don't think he's trying to do a creep highway. I don't know what he's trying to do here. He's going to move these Hydralisks off creep, and we all know how good Hydralisks are off creep. They're null and void, let's just put it that way.
Well, this is... I'm trying to figure out what Regret is doing here. Is he just going to go for like a Hydralisk ground-based timing attack? I mean, he could... If he moved out now, he could get there before the robotic support bay is done, but how good would that realistically be right now? I don't really... I'm so confused about what's going on in Regret's head, but he obviously has a good... If judging by the last game, he obviously has very good understanding of Zerg timing attacks against Protoss. Does he think that this in his head that this attack is going to work? We'll have to find out. There goes a force field, so one of those Hydras does go down. That army for Regret is just like pitiful at the moment. There's only a few Hydralisks and a few Roaches off creep. The gateway unit count for One Trick Pony is actually much larger than that. He is establishing his 3rd base behind this, but Regret already has his 3rd base up. His 4th base is on the way. He is researching ventral sacks, pneumatized carapace, which is overlord speed and carrying capacity, as well as a spire behind all of this. So Regret is just all over the place in this game right now.
I honestly feel like he's being a little bit indecisive. He grabbed the Hydralisk Den, did not commit with it whatsoever. No attempt at a Nidus Canal, no attempt at getting some sort of creep spread across the map. And now he's falling back and trying to catch up. Now he's going to get a Spire. He's getting his 4th. His 4th is very, very late, in my opinion. He is currently sitting on 6 gas. Another Phoenix does fly over. These Phoenix are very, very nice. They're actually giving him full vision of his opponent's base. He's going to see any sort of tech that's going on. He's going to see the Spire. And I don't know what the Spire is for. I hope it's for Corruptors. I really hope he goes into Roach Corruptor. It looks like he's actually going to line up these overlords to try and do a drop here. This would actually be pretty nice. This could actually hit at a timing where Pony would not be able to, might be caught off guard.
Well, these overlords are going to be going into the main base. It looks like Regret is actually going to go for what looks like a fake drop. He's going to try and force his opponent's army back into his main base, but will One Trick Pony actually fall for this? It does look like he is going to move some of his units back. No, at this point he realized that the drop is indeed a fake, and Regret is just... he's playing mind games. His mind games are so good right now that they are psyching me out. I don't know what Regret's plan is right now. He obviously has a plan, and he's not in any real danger at this point. Although One Trick Pony's army is getting bigger. He is up to +2 attack. The Corruptors are just now entering the field, and there's only a small Colossus count, so I really don't know who's ahead at this point.
Regret's going to go for carpet bombs. He's going to get Banelings. He's going to load them in with the Overlord, something that I feel like is not used enough, especially with how high the sentry count is right now. If he is able to get a good engagement on top of that, drop the Banelings on top of it, clear out those sentries very early, he can actually win a direct engagement very, very easily. He does not need Baneling speed. 15 Banelings in production. This is actually very interesting by Regret. This could actually pay off for him very, very well. Look how many Corruptors he has as well to pick off the Colossus afterwards. If he micros this properly, I feel like he has a huge, huge advantage over his opponent. Oh, he's already splitting up, though.
If these carpet bombs actually go off, J. Morrow, they will do a ton of damage to this Protoss army. But look at One Trick Pony. He is already pre-splitting his army. But Regret is going to try and engage this in a position that he likes. He might even just go for like a big drop behind this. No, here he goes. He is going for the army. That army is already pre-split. Force fields do go down, preventing the ground army from actually engaging on Regret's army, or One Trick Pony's army at this point. The supply is up to 182 to 200, so Regret is capped. This is the most units that he can make, and One Trick Pony is continuing to warp in reinforcements from here, and here comes the engagement again, but no, again, Regret does not like the position, but he's going to go for it anyway. Here comes the engagement, here comes the Banelings. The Banelings are going to drop all over the Stalkers. Are they actually going to make good connections? It does look like a lot of Protoss units were actually taken down and all of that, but still a huge amount of supply for One Trick Pony is still available in his army. The supply is 150 to 171. A lot of Overlords do go down, but those were just extras. Regret is totally fine after here. And again, the two sides is stabilized, 185 to 157 supply, and One Trick Pony is now researching Storm behind this. He's going to be able to go up to Archons behind this. We should be seeing a Stargate and a Fleet Beacon pretty soon, too.
Well, the problem is we don't have a hive from Regret yet. I think that's what's really, really going to hurt him here. We do have a fourth base on the way from One Trick Pony, and once Protoss get up to 8 gas, they can do whatever they want. They can get Archons. He's getting Stormer now. He can get a Starship, a Starport, or what? Stargate into a Mothership if you'd like to. But we'll have to see what does he decide to do with that. Looking at upgrades right now, +2 weapons from a Protoss player, +2 weapons, +1 armor from a Zerg player. Still has a bunch of Hydralisk retained. Not doing a whole lot with him. He really, really needs to get Hive Tech, and I'm just waiting for the Hive to start because he's going to try and push here, and this fight is just so one-sided. He really doesn't have anything to put him in an advantageous spot. There's the blink underneath all of the Overlords, and it looks like we're pulling the Colossi back, doing a great job. The one Immortal does fall. The Corruptors are actually going to melt away the Colossi before the Stalkers can finish them, but the only thing left for our Zerg player is actually Hydralisk. He's pushing forward 192 supply to 121, and he may have hit Pony at a perfect timing, actually catching him off guard. The Stalkers are starting to dwindle, but actually, can he hold this?
Hydralisks are pretty good against Stalkers, man. The Hydralisks are actually being pretty cost-effective against this, much better than I thought Regret would actually do. And Regret is actually maxed out again. He's going to be able to attack again with a second wave of reinforcements. Those Hydralisks did so much damage once the Colossus were actually down that he will be able to actually push into the main base of One Trick Pony. And now it's One Trick Pony that's in trouble. He doesn't have the production to match what Regret is going to be able to throw at him. It's just non-stop lair units into the main base of One Trick Pony, and Regret's Corruptors are still on the field, eliminating all of the Colossus that are in One Trick Pony's army. One Trick Pony's been reduced to nothing but gateway units against Roach Hydralisk. You don't want to fight Roach Hydralisk with just gateway units. There are too many units on the field for Regret. He really looks like he is in a position to give Team Impulse this victory. Can he hold on to this lead?
Yeah, I'm wondering why One Trick Pony is not able to reconstruct an army, and I'm realizing his gateway count is so low. He only has 6 gateways, 2 more in production. He has the economy. I mean, actually not anymore. He did have the economy. Right now sitting on just a little bit of minerals, but here's another push from Regret, pushing up the front here. The Stalkers are doing a great job of blinking back and forth. Regret starting to pick off the wall. If he took down that Cyber Core, that would actually be a huge key to victory. The one problem that Regret doesn't have, he does not know about this base over here on the eastern side. Regret pushing up. There are no more sentries available, dropping into the main. This looks like the swarm here.
I think he's done it!
Yeah, 188 supply over 72.
Supply, 70 supply, 180 supply to 59 supply. Probes are going down all over the place. Zerg units have breached the front door of One Trick Pony's base. This looks like it will be it for Area 51 in this very first round. GG, well played from One Trick Pony. Regret takes the series with an amazing final 2 games versus Protoss. Regret just demonstrating a beautiful understanding of Zerg versus Protoss. Winning against Protoss with Hydralisk makes me so happy, and probably makes Buddha laugh. It probably makes Buddha laugh because he knows I'm so happy about it. Regret pulling it off, giving Impulse the win. That was just absolutely incredible. I'm speechless, J. Morrell. You need to calm me down and explain to everybody what just happened right there.
That was absolutely amazing. I don't know how that worked out for him. He went for this Hydralisk timing. Well, I don't know what he was doing. He built these Hydralisks, didn't do anything with them, fell back, went for a Baneling timing. That didn't work out for him. So then he just kind of falls back on 4th basis, reconstructs an army, pushes, reconstructs an army, pushes, and somehow just bludgeons his way through it. Very, very nicely done by Impulse Esports. They're actually able to take this is day 1 of Season 3, taking the first victory over who I thought was a much, much higher caliber team. No offense to Team Impulse, but Area 51 Gaming actually losing the series 3-4.
What did I tell you at the very beginning of this cast, Jay Morrow? Whatever Team Impulse might be outside of the ISTL, this is their turf, and they are absolutely determined to defend it. They do not want to put up a poor showing in their own tournament, and this is why they play at such a high level. Ender and Regret just absolutely geniuses today with the way that they played, and they were able to knock out Area 51 in this very first round. And what a way to start Season 3. What a way to start Season 3. That was an awesome series going right down to the wire of Game 7. And for the longest time there, I thought Regret was just done. I was like, One Trick Pony's army's too big. Your army's too small. How are you actually going to come through with this? Well, I can give you the answer to that. Baneling Carpet Bombs and Hydralisks. 2 of the most underutilized things in the Zerg versus Protoss matchup, and he utilizes them beautifully to give his team the victory. So, awesome game, awesome series. Thank you once again to all of our sponsors for making this possible. Thank you once again to everybody else. We're going to go to a quick commercial break before we give you guys a send-off. So, be right back. This is the ISTL. Welcome back, everybody, to the ISTL Season 3. We just finished up the 7-game series between Team Area 51 and Team Impulse Esports. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. We are going to be giving you the schedule for the upcoming games. We have more games coming up tomorrow, I believe, at the same time, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. Jamar, do you know who's playing tomorrow?
It is actually going to be Wednesday, it looks like, and the schedule has been
Oh,
linked in chat
Wednesday.
for those of you, if you guys can
Okay.
pull up the schedule real quick. And it looks like Wednesday is going to be alternate versus DTG Gaming, or excuse me, DT Gaming. So that will be Wednesday's game, same time, 8:30 p.m. EST.
So tune into that, guys. If you guys enjoyed what you saw today, please hit that follow button at the top of the channel. These guys in Team Impulse do such hard work to make this all possible. Thank you to them. Thank you especially to Marine, our production guy, for getting everything running smoothly. The production is awesome already this season so far. I'm excited to be here. I can't wait to cast more games for you guys. But that will probably do it for today. Thank you once again to all of our sponsors, CSN, Maxed Out Studios, and Cydia. I can't remember here. It's like buzzing over the last game, so I'm having a hard time remembering everything. But thank you once again to all of our sponsors making this all possible. We will see you guys next time. Do you have anything else you want to say, Jay Mara, before we sign off?
I'm still speechless, man. That was an amazing game. Of course, Vivid Gaming and, of course, Impulse Esports for putting this all together for us. Other than that, that's pretty much all I got. I'm speechless.
All right. Well, at least for today, I am Vindicare. You can catch me on Twitter at KT Vindicare. You can also catch me on my own stream where I do solo casting of replays and other such nonsense at twitch.tv/KT Vindicare. Jay Morrow, your Twitter is also linked. Do you want to give any more shout outs for yourself?
For any of those of you guys who are playing Guild Wars and you guys are enjoying it, I'm actually streaming high-level PvP. I'm actually starting to already make a name for myself. So if you guys are enjoying Guild Wars as well, at JMorPro, I'll definitely let you guys know when I'm streaming that. So I don't know if any fans out there
Is that SPVP? Is that SPVP or is that World vs World?
Actually, BGs. So like whatever the first one he said. I don't know
Yeah,
what you said.
because you don't want to mess with Jade Corey, man. We will wreck your server all day because that's what we do.
Yeah,
Anyway,
so-
till next time, guys. Thanks for sticking with us. This is the ISTL. We will see you guys on Wednesday for more great StarCraft action from this team league. So see you guys next time. This is Vindicare. I'm signing off.